Part 10, The Fixer Bernard Malmud. So this boatman is talking really bad about Jews, and he's describing how they should be killed. So he said, we'll pile up the corpses and soak them with benzene and light fires that people will enjoy all over the world. Then, when that's done, we'll hose the stinking ashes away and divide the rubles and jewels and silver and furs and all the other loot they stole. We'll give it back to the poor who it rightfully belongs to anyway. You can take my word, the time's not far off when everything I say we will do, because our Lord, who they crucified, wants his rightful revenge. He dropped an oar and crossed himself. Yaakov fought an impulse to do the same. His bag of prayer things fell with a plop into the Dnieper and sank like lead. So you can see he's like he is drawn into this other world, this Christian world that he's almost ready to crucify, like to make the crucifix sign, because he's just so intent on getting away from Judaism that even his bag of tefillin, his religious artifact, his Jewish religion strap used for praying fell into the water, and he just doesn't care about that. He wants to get rid of his Judaism, actually. So we're in part 2 of the book, chapter 1. Where do you go if you had been nowhere? He hid at first in the Jewish quarter, emerging stealthily from time to time to see what there was to see in the world, exploring, trying the firmness of the earth. Kiev, the Jerusalem of Russia, still awed and disquieted him. He had been there for a few hot summer's days after being conscripted into the army, and now, again, he saw it with half the self, the other half worried about his worries. Still, as he wandered from street to street, the colors were light and pretty. The golden haze hung in the air in the later afternoons. The busy avenues were full of people. Among the Ukrainian peasants in their native dress, gypsies, soldiers, priests. At night, the white gas globes glowed in the streets, and there were thick mists on the river. Kiev stood on 3 hills, and he remembered his first trembling sight of the city from the Nicholas Bridge, dotted with white houses, with green roofs, churches, and monasteries, their gold and silver domes floating above the green foliage. He wasn't without an eye for a pretty scene, though that added nothing to his living. Still, a man was more than a workhorse, or so they said. The other way, across the glassy brown river, the way he had come on a dying horse, the steppes stretched out into the vast green distance. Only 30 versts, and the shtetl was invisible. Gone. Poof. Lost, maybe expired. Though he felt homesick, he knew he would never return. Yet what would it come to? More than once, Razel had accused him of being afraid to leave, and maybe it was true, but at last it wasn't. So I left, he thought. What good will it do me? Was she back, he wondered? He cursed her when he thought of her. He went where he had not been before, speaking in Russian to anyone who spoke to him. Testing himself, he explained it to himself. Why should a man be afraid of the world? Because he was, if for no other reason. Numb with fear that he would be recognized as a Jew and ordered out, he stealthily watched from the gallery of a church as the peasants, some with knapsacks on their backs, knelt and prayed at the altar before a tall gold crucifix and a jeweled icon of the Madonna, as the priest, a huge man in rich, thick vestments, chanted the Orthodox service. The fixer had the shivers as he looked, and the strange odor of incense increased his nervousness. He almost rose out of his boots as he was touched on the arm and saw at his side a black-bearded hunchback who pointed to the peasants below, smacking their heads against the flagstone floor and kissing it passionately. Go thou and do likewise. Eat salted bread and listen to the truth. The fixer quickly left. Stupefied that he dared the adventure, he afterwards descended to the Lavra catacombs under the old monastery on the Pechersky hill overlooking the Dnieper. Amid a group of frightened, pasty-faced peasants holding lit candles, they moved in a loose line along low, damp-smelling passages, where, through barred windows, he caught glimpses of the saints of the Orthodox Church lying in open coffins, covered with shabby clothes of red and gold. Small red lamps glowed in the walls under their icons. In a candlelit cell, as the line moved on, a monk with ruddled hair to his shoulders held out a relic of the hand of St. Andrew for the faithful to kiss, and each knelt to touch the parchmented hand to his lips. But though Yaakov had considered a quick kiss of the bony fingers, when his time came to kneel, he blew out his candle and groped his way on in the dark. Outside there was a crowd of beggars, some of them armless and legless, cripples from the late war. 3 were blind, one rolled his eyes inwards, one bulged his so that they looked like fish eyes, and one read sonorously, by divine inspiration, from a book of Gospels which he held in his hands. He stared at Yaakov, and Yaakov stared at him. He lived in the heart of the Jewish quarter in the Podol district, in a teeming tenement hung with mattresses airing and rags of clothing drying, above a courtyard crowded with wooden workshops where everyone was busy, but no one earned much of anything. They stayed alive. The fixer wanted better, at least better than he had. Too much of nothing. For a while, during the cold rains of late autumn, he confined himself to the Jewish section. But after the first snowfall in the city, about a month after he had arrived, he began to edge out again, looking for work. With his tool sack slung over his shoulder, he trudged from street to street through the Podol and Piotsky, the flat commercial districts reaching to the river, and went up the hills into neighborhoods forbidden to Jews to work in. He continued to say to himself, opportunities, though in seeking them he sometimes felt like a spy behind enemy lines. The Jewish quarter, unchanged in ages, swarmed and smelled. Its worldly goods were spiritual goods. All that was lacking was prosperity. The fixer, having left the shtetl, resented the lack. He had tried working for a brushmaker, a man with a foaming beard who had promised to teach him the business.